to this first edition back of Paradise Live for quite some time. And what we're going to be doing with you this evening is we'll have a little conversation about some really exciting brand work with our brilliant guest, Paul Graham, who's sitting by my side. After we've had a chat about Paul's work, we'll give you a break to have a nice drink and have another catch-up. And then we'll have some amazing music. We're really privileged, trust me, to have the artist Hamza with us this evening. She is mind-blowing, so I can't wait to welcome her to the stage later. But for now, let's have a chat with Paul. Hi, Paul.
Okay. Hello, how are we doing?
Very good. I'm kind of feeling a bit shocked to be out of my flat, but here we are. How are you doing?
Totally agree. I think this is probably the first time I've spoken to more people than myself in about 18 months.
Yeah, it's that thing about speaking beyond the Zoom screen, which feels very uncomfortable right now, but here we are. So, Paul, I hate introducing people because I don't like putting words into their mouths. I'd love you to introduce yourself a little bit, maybe by way of some of your work. Maybe you could talk
Good.
us
It's
through-
like we didn't set that up at all, did we?
Wow, look at that. There's no script. These aren't scripted cards. Yeah, let's talk about your work. That's what's going to inspire people this evening.
Basically, I didn't want really to anyone big me up or to say, like, me go through how amazing I am, because I don't agree with that. But it's better to just show you some of the work that I'm proud of, that I've done, that you can make your own minds up about, and then we can have a chat if that's good with everyone.
Yeah, sure. I think the work will speak for itself. Let's have a look.
The briefest of intros is I started life for my sins trained by the Saatchi brothers doing advertising, which I turned out to be good at, but didn't really particularly find fulfilling, because for me, what I liked about it was having some sort of impact on people, or like having some sort of meaning. And advertising creates a meaning rather than actually represents a true meaning in people's lives. And I felt like advertising got in the way of the thing that it was trying to do. So over the course of my career, I've moved away from advertising and into brand consultancy, and then running brands and creating them. And some of the work that I've done along the way will show you sort of kind of what I mean. That's my babble. By the way, this is a human experiment. It is literally the first time I've spoken to more people than my mum in like a long, long time.
Oh, trust me, that is really true for me as well.
So here we go. Oh, yeah, there we go. First mistake already. So the first thing is that when I started my own agency, which the CEO of the agency that I'd left said in my leaving speech, which he got a massive laugh and a round of applause for, was, "It's so sad to see Paul leave the advertising industry when I started an agency," which I was quite proud of, because they thought that I wasn't a threat. One of the first things I did was pick up the Umbro business, which I liked because it meant something in people's lives, because it was football. Whether it means something to you or not, it means a lot to a lot of people. And this, actually, the thing I'm about to show you, everything in it was originally briefed as an ad, and I refused to do it as briefed and said we could do it for free. So everything you're about to see happened without any money changing hands. Well, apart from 4 tickets to the next England game from Umbro. But there we go.
Sneaky.
the sound you heard was the sound of 70,000 Frenchmen booing. Which was actually the metric that we wanted, rather than sort of like everyone saying how amazing it was. I wanted deliberately to prove that playing away for your country meant something, rather than make an ad that tried to tell you the same thing. So for 4 tickets to the band to take their mum and dad to Wembley for an England game, and the idea of wearing the new England shirt before anyone else, including a player, for the first time ever, whilst playing away in Paris, was the easiest conversation I think I've ever had in my life. I didn't think we'd put it off quite as well as we did. The only other thing we did was we tipped off the Sun and paid for his Eurostar ticket to go and be on stage to take that shot, which not only appeared the next day without any money changing hands in the middle page spread of the Sun the next morning, and then on Sun Online. It also ended up being so good, the one on the top left, that was the ad. We ended up thinking it was so good that we literally, for free, used the Sun's photo and put it on a poster with the word away, and that was everything about the campaign. It's 10 years old, it looks like dated already, but the reason I thought I'd kick it off is if I could encapsulate what I think advertising means, or what brand work means, or cool shit, which I let the guys know I already objected to as a term, especially if referring to me. No, I know, but that's the kind of thing that I think is worthwhile, because it meant something to the people involved, it meant something to the country, it meant the wrong thing to the fans that were booing it, and it even made Murdoch put it in his paper for free. So I think that's a win all round.
That's a big win.
Yeah. And then basically you're going to have to sit through another 4 videos, basically, of stuff like that. But to carry on the theme of meaning, this one actually personally really touches me. Like most people in this room probably didn't learn to type or write before Google was a thing, I hope. Otherwise that makes me really old. Most of us process our own emotions or think about what we might want or look for based on, depending on how old you are, the yellow pages, or like looking for stuff that you've already decided you want on Google. But there came a moment where you grew up with Google already being a thing before you learned to deal with your own emotions or like type into a computer. For that generation, they process their emotions by searching in Google, because Google doesn't judge them. Google isn't a thing. Google isn't a person. Google can't talk back. So rather than think about it as a transaction, which is what adults do, when off the back of Umbro, Nike, who had just bought Umbro, also bought Converse, they asked us, could you do what you did for that with Converse? And what we did was connect with teenagers via an emotional use of Google, by which I mean, hang on, there we go. Right, so we might search, if you think, I'm a bit stressed, I don't feel quite right. Back in the day when this was allowed, I might have a holiday. Where do I want to go? Maybe Europe. Okay, I'll search for holidays in Europe. Or maybe relaxation techniques, or coping with stress. Or, if you're young, I hate my dad. That single search term, I'm not kidding you, if you're thinking like a kid, that single search time spikes as the single most searched for term on one single day of the year. Can anyone guess what that day is? Christmas Day. Because guess what? You didn't get the present you wanted, or you got overexcited, Dad told you off, you go straight over to Google and tell Google exactly how you're feeling, not what you're looking for. So every company in the world is paying over the odds on like AdWords for search terms they think are worth it as a transaction, and no one is buying an ad or a link against something that a kid is genuinely feeling right there, right then, unless you're idiots like us. So when we found that out, we thought, well, how do we game that? It was like, we can be the only sponsored link that returns something to a kid that feels like that on that one day for 0.01 penny, right? And no one else is going to bid against us, so it's not going to rise. So every single time a kid types that in, and Converse paid back a URL that was funny and delivered a bit of content, it cost us nothing, right? But it was exactly the moment they wanted to do it. So we started playing with this. Stuff like, I failed, now you know the game. Can anyone guess what day that spikes? Exam results day, when the whole world is saying exams are getting easier, kids have an easy life, la la, and a kid has just failed their exams. they hate themselves, and they type that into Google, so Google knows that first. And no one's talking to them about that apart from us. We served this bit of content one day of a year for literally under like 1/10 of a penny every time they clicked on it. Quite nice watching that back. It still makes me well up slightly, especially after the year we've all had.
Yeah, it's really powerful. I mean, so simple, but so powerful, and I guess impactful.
Well, meaning. I think
Absolutely.
That's it. Literally, the only people that are clicking on that at that point in time, it means something to them, which is why they clicked on it, and then you deliver something back that actually, therefore, genuinely has an effect on them. And it's way more effective and costs nothing, whether that was a good or bad thing, but was exactly what was necessary, just by thinking slightly differently about it.
Thinking like a human.
Thinking like a human,
which
thank you very much.
We don't do that much
I think
in
we all
creative
over-professionalise
sometimes.
everything.
Absolutely.
We make it a job, we make it a process, we make it sort of like a transaction, when actually we were all better at our jobs before we started them, because we all thought like our target or our consumers or whatever else, we thought like human beings. And I think if we put that into the soul of our work, it always gets better, I think, anyway. It didn't always have to be like meaningful and sad or like deep. It could be really gross and silly, because we were talking to teenagers. There's How to Kiss. I'll give you, you don't have to guess when that spiked, but this is what we served. That was actually our creative.
Oh, wow.
I'll spare you the rest.
Yeah, please.
I'll spare you the
please.
rest. Oh, hang on, pause. While sparing you that, so off the back of that, whilst bear in mind my ex-CEO was currently still thinking that I'd left the industry, that was breaking, and I was in Venice pitching randomly to Diesel, who'd said they wanted to reinvent their whole brand and translate it for millennials, because loads of 40-year-old planners wore £110 Diesel jeans, including myself. But no teenager buying American Apparel for 20 quid was bothered. So how did they retranslate it, and could we present an entire advertising campaign for a new generation of Diesel? I rocked up in Venice without an advertising campaign and without any pictures, no photographer, just a pair of my own Diesel jeans worn, a bottle of JD, not drunk yet, and an iPod, remember those? And what was the other thing? There was one other thing. I can't even remember now. But basically my point was, it doesn't matter what it looks like, it doesn't matter who shot it, it doesn't matter even what it says. Diesel used to be a badge that people wore and paid for because it said who they were. So it's not the thing or the cost, it's does it mean something to me, and does it tell the world who I am? And an iPod and a bottle of JD says, oh, it was Converse, which was my other client, clever. It says, I'm creative, I'm a rock star, I'm different, I know what I'm doing, I'm smart, or I'm a maverick, whatever it needs to be. That's why we all pay whatever we pay to wear anything. It states something about it. It's an extension of who we are. So Diesel needs to start with, what does it mean, and how do you translate that so it means the same thing again for 20-year-olds that don't need to pay the money, but would if it said the right thing about them. And so I found myself in the office of Renzo Rosso, who had started Diesel, convincing him that the thing he should say about himself and the brand that would make teenagers love him was that it was stupid. So this is what I literally rocked up with, a book that just had these words in it, literally nothing else.
This sound don't break, don't make me. This sound don't, please don't make me. This sound don't break, don't make me. This sound don't, please don't make me. This sound don't break, don't make me. This sound don't, please don't make me. Switch on TV, flashback, Taylor's talking. When you don't see me, this is a final warning. This sound don't, please don't make me. Is it a calling, or am I only dreaming? It's on repeat, burns through in the morning. This sound don't, please don't make me. It's only rain. East, west, a new direction. It's only rain. He's on standby. It's only rain. For your own protection. It's only rain. Is it a warning, or am I only dreaming? Watch me see me. Sandman does the talking.
So when I just, you were going to ask a question, weren't you? Or were you?
Go ahead, go ahead.
When I found myself, I literally panicked at that moment. Well, to be fair, I panicked before I walked into the room to find the client illegally smoking outside the window of his own office in Italy. And before I even sat down, he asked me, do you want some coffee? Do you want a cigarette? I was like, I think I'm probably going to be all right. But then marched up to see Renzo Rosso. I thought, I'm about to sit in front of the man who started Diesel and tell him that he's stupid. And then I showed him, it wasn't that video, we made that video because that's what he asked for, to launch it on stage to the whole company. But it was a book that literally just had those words in it. And the rest of his team, including the smoking illegal marketing director who thought it was brilliant, wouldn't go into the room. They literally sent me into the room on my own. I thought, I'm in trouble here. And throughout my life, whenever I thought something was great and I was probably on a wing and a prayer with the person who was about to hear it, I always shudder when someone reaches over and goes, young man, right? I'm about to get condescended, told off, or ejected from the premises. And Renzo looked at me and was like, young man. I was like, oh shit. He went, all my life I've been called stupid. I was like, and he went, I think it's a very good thing. We'll do it. He asked for a T-shirt with Be Stupid on it so he could present that. I'm in the book that he wrote about being stupid as the young man that talked to him about it. It literally overnight, it was a huge sensation. There's a whole team behind all of that. It was definitely not just me. I was just the mug that had to actually say the words. What it taught me was, again, if you really zone in on the meaning of something and what it means to the person that you're trying to convince, everything else washes away. And it was the meaning of the experience of the man that started Diesel that made that possible, because it literally struck a chord with him and therefore struck a chord with everyone else. We made 100 of those T-shirts and tried to convince the client to sell them online, which we did. They all went within 10 minutes. Thankfully, I still have one, I think, somewhere. But every now and again, I bump into someone who has one, and it's just very weird. But it means something, that's it. The idea that you can say, you know what, you're going to get told don't be stupid for the rest of your life. Fuck it, do whatever you want to do, because sometimes that's where the brilliance comes from. It struck a chord, and proud of it. Anyway.
And it becomes a kind of timeless identity. We talk a lot in very wanky, brandy terms about identifying with and engaging the audience, but it's the simplest, again, the most human, meaningful message that creates the identity, and that's how you identify with. So Sneaky.
Perfect that you said that, because behind you, as you say that, there's a photo which looks like it could be completely, well, either, I don't know, abusive or obvious or old-fashioned or whatever. We didn't shoot that. That is the behind-the-scenes photographer and one of the models, like when we weren't looking, getting excited about the idea of being stupid, and they just went off to be stupid. And then we discovered this, and then it was so good and it was so pure. It was two 20-year-old girls being stupid. It became one of the actual ads and won a Grand Prix at Cannes, which was weird given I left advertising and suddenly we'd won an advertising award for something we didn't even make. But anyway, but
Because you stepped out of the ad world into the real world.
Into the real world and let people get on with it.
Then the genius happened. Yeah. Cool.
There we go. Final thing. So after doing all that, I actually realised that as it got bigger, in order to scale and grow, it needed to become easier to manage, which meant more like an advertising agency. And at that point, I got bored. So I had this really weird moment where the thing I was most proud of, as it succeeded, was the thing I was least into. And I basically put my money and my heart where my mouth was and said, either we keep doing stuff that's different or I'm out. The rest of my partners disagreed. They wanted to make the money and carry on. And so I fell on my sword and said I was out. Thought, what the hell am I going to do? Left the industry finally, went to live in the jungle in Costa Rica with some friends. And one headhunter called me and said, I'd like to keep in touch. And I said, there's only 5 jobs in the world that I do. Don't call me, because I'm not going to do any of them. I'm happy for now. In fact, I was paid off not to work for a year. That's nice, isn't it? Although within a week, I was in the beach bar coming up with ideas for media brands with the guy
Careful,
playing the music.
people are gonna hate you.
Yeah, I know. I hate myself, so don't worry. You're allowed to slag me off. But and she called me within a week and said, how about Burberry? Which wasn't on the list, but I was like, okay. And in my interview, I said, why don't you ever talk about the war? Great, really smart thing to do. And they're like, well, why would we talk about the war? So because the trench coat, which is the most famous thing that Burberry's ever made, that was created by the founder for the war, is one of the most amazing bits of technology ever invented, and it kept soldiers in the trenches alive. Why would you not talk about it? It's literally the most amazing bit of purpose any brand would kill for. And it was because people killed for it. So don't mention it. So it took me 4 years of putting meaning and stories back into everything we did at Burberry, and I wouldn't let it go. I was like, you have to talk about where you came from and why you're actually cool, rather than because you're a fashion brand and it's badged as cool. You actually made a difference, and the man whose name is above the shop door actually gave a shit about stuff and kept people alive in the war. And loads of other things all of the Shackleton exhibition was, even the tents were made from the fabric that still makes Burberry trench coats to this day, and they were frightened of talking about it because it was hard or people died or whatever else. No, it's meaningful. It meant stuff to real human beings, and therefore it's awesome. And 4 years later, Christopher Bailey called me into a room and was like, okay, how about this? And this is what it became.
If I can imagine whole worlds in his head.
What have you got there, Burberry?
I made it.
No one sees the world like my Tom.
Oh, the storm clouds were moving across your eyes, and I could hear the war drums pounding from inside your mind.
I intend to lead a group of men to the Antarctic, and I'm looking for someone to supply the entire expedition with protective clothing. What is this?
It's what you've been looking for. People people come to me with their dreams.
Betty Dawson is going to attempt the impossible. She plans to break the world record and fly London to Cape Town in 48 hours.
And I help bring them to life.
Miss Dawson.
And what about your own dreams?
My heart shattered apart.
This is our life now.
Just to bring you up to date on the news of Europe, Great Britain is now at war. British mechanized troops rattle across the frontier into Belgium.
Your father can imagine a whole world in his head.
We should make sight of her any minute now in Khartoum, where she'll touch down just long enough to refuel on her way to Cape Town. London to Cape Town.
Do you love her? Your father can imagine a whole world in his head.
Thank you.
Compelling, emotive, telling an eternal story, very, very human again, and touching. Is that the thing that you're proud? I can imagine the amount of work, not only, as you were saying before, just convincing them that this piece of work was worth making, but then the actual creative process and the production process of that. Do you think that's what you're proudest
I
of?
absolutely love that, and actually watching it back, it still makes my heart
I can
race.
see
One
that.
thing I will say is, this is not in any way, shape, or form like the Paul Graham show, especially that is like a shed load of incredible like human beings that went
course.
into making that happen. Christopher Bailey being like obviously the man who came up with the idea. It was like I was the oik that kept like pestering, but like he knocked it out of the park with that thought. There's loads of little stories in that that exactly point that point out, which is it was named one of the best 10 Christmas ads of that year. Christmas ad, bearing in mind it was up against Waitrose and Sainsbury's and whatever else, and we didn't put it on air. It never aired. It was like single thing I've shown so far, not a single penny of media money was put behind it. It's maybe sponsored social media like Instagram posts and whatever, but that's as much as it was, and it was up against the tens of millions of pounds being like spent for supermarket ads, which that's the bit I'm really proud of because it meant something again. But even GQ was trying to guess how much it cost. So there were two things that happened. Lily James, who's obviously in it, she started a petition on Twitter to get the film made. Because obviously it pretends it's a film, which is a nice little idea from Christopher. But as well as that, GQ was trying to guess how many millions it cost us to make, especially given Donald Gleeson, Lily James, and the guy I've just forgotten his name from The Wire. Thank you, Dominic.
Thanks, Ben.
He was the first to get excited about it, and this is what I mean about meaning again. Is he has always wanted to play Ernest Shackleton since he was a little boy. He's his hero, and he's never been cast in it. There's not a film about Ernest Shackleton. So when our script landed on his desk, he immediately jumped in and said, "I'll do it for free if I can play Ernest Shackleton." It wasn't for free, but every single one of them donated their small fee to charity, and the rest of it, because we asked Asif Kapadia, who I don't know if anyone knows, but is one of my favourite documentary makers, but he makes films about awesome people, which is why he was so excited about that, because it fitted his sort of like whole world. He's made like films about Amy Winehouse, about Ayrton Senna, and a number of other people. And the scriptwriter had just won an Oscar for Bridge of Spies. So we did it with people that cared and made amazing stories, rather than with, sorry, anyone in the room who's an ad production film company, but we deliberately went to people that gave a shit about the meaning of it, including the stars, and therefore every estimate of how much it cost is probably about 800% higher than it actually did. And we didn't even put it on TV once, which again, so it's like, again, meaning, human stories always win out, I think. And they're always more, well, they're cheaper, basically. But they're, I think, better, and that's what gets my heart racing every time I see it.
Now, I promised you I wouldn't do this, but that's some pretty cool shit. So, sorry, but we are here this evening to talk about cool shit that we wish we had done, but that is some amazing work.
Thank you.
That you...
It wasn't just me, I keep saying that. But
No, and I really do appreciate and respect you for saying that, because it's so true that every creative machine is a machine and a team of people, a family of people. At the end of a production like that, you truly become a family, I would imagine.
Oh God, yeah.
So, tell me, can we talk about cool shit you wish you'd done now?
Yeah, I think that might be next. I think
Can we move on to that? Because it feels like there could be a bridge there to that.
there is. I think that we might have to skip past the next one because you also asked me favourite, but we'll go back to that. Hang on.
We can.
Oh, there we go.
Can,
Here we go.
We can do whichever
We can
order you
skip
like.
around, like, you know,
Okay.
we're all humans. This is the thing that happened in lockdown that very few people see, that I absolutely adore and I wish I'd done. It's 4.5 minutes long, so you're going to have to just listen to the Prodigy play for 4.5 minutes.
It's a great
basically.
track. It's a great track.
But here we go. mean, wow, right? And like, well, the reason that for me has so much meaning and like trumps anything I've ever done is it was made in lockdown when no one was out on the streets by some charity that wanted to point out what it was like to always be out on the streets when we were all locked at home. And because it's a charity, no one saw it. So if we can do one thing as a result of tonight, find that and share it, please. Because it has so much depth and so much meaning. It's a tragedy or a crime that it's not more well known, I think, anyway. There we go.
Yeah, and there's so much in it. I mean, apart from anything else, as we said to each other while we were watching, it's so difficult to sit here still and not dance along with those beautiful, incredible people.
Yeah. Half those people are not dancers, by the way, they're homeless as well. So the casting is incredible. The whole artistry of it is amazing. But
absolutely. There's so much humanity to it, and there's so much identity and shared experience and emotion and community and all these amazing things that, again, going back to your own work and your own take on your own work, we could all sit around thinking outside the box and being creative wankers for as long as we want to, but we couldn't come up with something as courageously simple and powerful as that, which I agree. Please share it. Please share it, because there's a message behind that, which is really important.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely.
Now let's come back to celebrating you. This is what we're all about this evening. Should we have a look at your favourite?
Okay, well, you'll spot there's a thread through all of this because I actually think that it's something that is deeply meaningful for all of us. There's not been a single thing I've showed so far that hasn't been totally, like, deepened or made profound by the music attached to it. And one of the things, so after the success of the Diesel campaign, they then said, oh, could you recreate our lookbook and our website and our online store and I was like, all of these things feel like they're just additional stuff, and I didn't want to do additional stuff, so I sort of flippantly said, well, why don't we do it all together? Why don't we make a digital campaign that is also the lookbook and is also the store and is also like a social media sort of push? The reason I've chosen this as my favourite is because it's a number of different briefs, all answered by one thing. It's also apparently, according to Shots Magazine, still in the top 20 digital campaigns of all time. I'm not sure I agree with that, but it's quite nice to have that after 10 years or something. And it's just a music video. But it's still, I genuinely can't believe, given the technology I'm about to show you is 10 years old, and the naive use of social media is also 10 years old, no one's actually ever bettered this or even bothered to try, and I don't know why, because I'd definitely have a go again, but that's why it's my favourite, because it stands the test of time. And this is narrated by the guy who sang this song.
Diesel wanted to extend their Be Stupid philosophy into an online catalogue for their spring-summer collection. They wanted to showcase the clothes, but we also wanted to create something that would get the audience involved. We choose music video as a platform, a simple way to show off all the clothes, get more people than usual to take a look, and whilst we were at it, even launch a new artist and their first single. The artist was me, Giuseppe Ciurtò.
Hello, my name is Joseph. I got a song, 100 Lovers, if you like it.
So there was me, but with my song called 100 Lovers, we needed another 99 people to get started. We created an online manifesto to spread our message across social media and recruited for the video shoot on Diesel.com. News spread quickly, and in under a week we had all 99 creative guys and gals gathered in a typical London pub to recreate the classic dance scene. To create the effect, we shot the entire thing 33 times, with everyone wearing clothes from the new Diesel collection. We then made it interactive by tagging every single item and every single person, so you can buy the clothes on the online store and find out more about the people involved, with links to their blogs, Facebook and MySpace pages, Twitter feeds, or promoting their own gigs, artwork, parties, exhibitions, happenings and stupid stuff. By crossing streams with different channels and activities, Diesel gets to live their Be Stupid philosophy in a real-world event, disguised as an online fashion catalog, disguised as a music video, living and breathing the attitude of Be Stupid, who will each use their own channels to promote the whole thing and launch a career all at once. Well, 99 separate launches. A new experience for an online catalog, a new way to do a music video, a new piece of music with a great experience for Diesel, and a new career for a young artist. I hope. Pretty stupid, huh?
There we go. He's still a friend of mine as well, which I quite like.
That's my favourite part.
Yeah.
I love that.
There we go.
Thank you so much, Paul, for talking us through...
Thank you for listening and not heckling yet.
No, I mean, give them a chance. But thank you. Thank you for giving us a moment to just pause and contemplate some great work. You might not want me to tell you that it's great, but we can all see that. And yeah, it's just lovely to sit down, hear you talking about it so honestly. And actually, that takes a bit of balls, talking about your own work. So thank you so much. Everybody, could we just thank Paul Graham?
Oh, no, thank you. No, please, fine, thank you. Can I do one more thing? If I'm going to get an applause, I'd rather be indulgent. And there was one final thing I want to share with you, which is what I've just finished doing. There's a company, no, it's not even a company, it's a charity that are about to launch called The Word, without an O, because obviously it's 2021 and you're not allowed vowels. So it's THEWRD. There's a reason why I'm telling you. The social username, which you're all going to follow, is Share the Word, without the O. Who have launched in lockdown to create access to the music industry for 17-year-olds who don't have access to further education or don't live in London or have a rich parent who can fund their sort of creative endeavours. So it literally is a pay-as-you-go video-first advice community and actual university course that they can do online. And it just got launched by Celeste last week. So if you follow the hashtag Share the Word, this is her giving some advice directly to kids, proving that they can make a go of it in the music industry, and I'd love everyone to help if they can. There we go.
The best advice I ever got was really to be myself and pull my socks up. Yeah, work hard.
There we go. That's it. But that was me being indulgent, but thank you.
Thank you, Paul. It's a really apt way to end our conversation about your work, actually, because after a break, so that you can all head back to the bar and keep going with your conversations, we will be back on the stage with the most incredible artist, Hamza, and I can't wait for you to hear her because she's just wonderful. So please enjoy a drink, have a chat, and we'll be back a bit later to entertain. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.